Well, first off, thank you all for doing this. I know it's a Wednesday at 1 p.m. First off, April Fools. No joke. This is still happening. I don't know. By the way, it's kind of funny because like I'm seeing these like travel emails. I don't know if they were pre-done before everything, but they're like, oh, come take a trip on us. And it's like super cheap. And I'm trying to figure out, is it because of this or is it because of some pre-created marketing? I don't know. I don't know if you've seen these ads, but there's a lot of funny April Fools ads out there. But anyhow, thank you all for joining again. I love everything that OC4 is doing. Obviously, we're all members of this group. And I'm going to talk about kind of four things with you. I'm going to talk about what is mindfulness. Second is why you need mindfulness as an entrepreneur. The third is I'm going to show you some things that you can do without needing anything, literally just things you can do by sitting or standing. And then the last thing, I'm going to show you kind of like a guided exercise you can do. And at the end, I'll actually, if anyone wants, I'll actually email you an MP3 version of the exercise that I'm going to have us do. So no need to take notes. Please just get comfortable. Just hang out. I will do my best to have this well below the hour time slot so that there could be questions, or if you all have to, handle some other things. So like Ariel had mentioned, I have worked in the mindfulness sector for probably over 5 years now. I first understood what it was because as an entrepreneur, I dealt with what you would call some type of burnout. That feeling you get when, things aren't working well. The thing is you're like that hamster wheel that they talk about, or the thing that happens when, you're not 100% there. Like, every part of your life is getting destroyed, whether it's your relationships because you're not fully present, or your food, meaning you're just eating stressor foods, or if you have a habit of needing a happy hour every day, that could be another example of this. But most importantly, like, it's not that you're just not happy with yourself. And I dealt with that to a certain degree. And it's interesting because I tried so many different things. I tried some insane fitness regime. I tried some diet programs. I tried some, Tony Robbins-esque type of things. And I'm not saying any of those things are bad, but what's really interesting is that the more I would do all that, the worse it would get, because I wasn't focusing on the thing that was really affecting me, which is my mind. And that's what made me realize, okay, I need to spend some time on this whole mindfulness thing and, see why it's being used. And as I did my own research and interviewed some really interesting people like Bob Iger and Dr. Oz and some other kind of advocates of mindfulness, I started to realize, wow, like, we're going to enter a shift where mindfulness, which is, in my opinion, being used by the top 1% of all performers. I don't care if you're a CEO. I don't care if you're an athlete. I don't care if you are a investor. Literally, the top 1% of every one of those categories that I just mentioned are using some form of mindfulness every day, if not every few times a week. I'm not only seeing this from the people I've profiled, but I've just from researching, you all can see this on your own too. So this conversation it shouldn't be, do you need mindfulness? The question you should ask yourselves is, okay, like, what can I gain from this conversation and how could I go further into that? So that's kind of a little background on me and why I do what I do, because I feel like with mindfulness now, it's something that the top 1%ers of peak performers and individuals in our world are doing. We all, as hustle bustle, go-getting type entrepreneurs and service professionals, need to do. So starting with that, what is mindfulness? So the simplest answer I can provide for you, and obviously anything I say is subject to opinion. It could be, you can find another way of looking at it. But from what I have seen from my own business and the profiling I've done, is mindfulness is simply ways that you get connected with your center self. That's it. Now, some people call that center self, your gut, your heart, your mind, your soul. If you want to get more into it, like your inner calm side, whatever you want to deem it, that's fine. It's not a religion or spiritual type of thing. It's literally the physical inner state that you have, if you want to keep it simple. And the reason why this is important is because as an entrepreneur, if you're not giving your 100% to something, meaning like if you're doing a task and you're what you call crazy multitasking, where you are, you're literally just, doing it, but you're not 100% there, then you're actually being very selfish, not to you, but to people. Because if you have customers, or if you have partners who are depending on you, or if you have a program and you're not giving your 100% like with presence, then you're actually not giving the best output. So there is a correlation with the more ways you can find mindfulness in terms of getting that centered state and your work, you have a better chance of doing a better job. Now, some of the things that mindfulness can help you with that regard is you learn to understand that it's really about less is more. I think one of the greatest, and I'm a very, I know TJ and Ariel probably know me, and Carrie know me the best out of the people on this conversation here, but I'm a realist. I'm what you call an optimist realist. Okay. Where I'm very optimistic on what is in front of me. Like I can look at reality and I can try to find the positive. And I can say that with this reality that we have right now, this social distancing time that we live in, the optimistic side that I can say is that it's forcing us to embrace what I'm about to tell you, which mindfulness helps you realize is less is more. So if you use that philosophy of, spending less time, but more quality with presence and focus, then, and if you know that, if you do that, you're going to make better decisions. You'll work smarter, not harder. And you will have a better value in terms of efficiency for your business. Then why not embrace this idea of just being more mindful? So that's why, as an entrepreneur and as anyone who is on the go, needs to embrace this concept of finding ways to connect with your center, finding ways to embrace this less is more, and giving 100% to a few things rather than 50% to a bunch of other things. That's kind of the MO as an entrepreneur, as anyone in the professional world, why you need to embrace this concept of mindfulness. Before I go further, I just want to take a little break. Does anyone have any questions on what I've been saying so far? Because this is very natural for me to talk about. I could literally talk about this for hours. So sometimes I don't realize that I talk fast. So please let me know if there's any comments or questions before I go further. And I'm going to talk about in a second some simple ways you can apply this mindfulness activity so that you can continue to use it when you're working.
Yeah, I had a quick question. So you had talked, I know we've talked about this, a few times, of course, too, but you kind of talked about your journey, going through it and experiencing burnout and kind of what that was. What are like some other symptoms that people can look out for that they can start to say? Because one, there's the burnout. We've all probably experienced it at some point, and that's an easy one because you're just exhausted. But what are like other little things that kind of creep up and you could say, ooh, wow, maybe I'm headed in the wrong direction right now?
That's a great question. Not referencing the app, but your headspace. Literally, like your head isn't in the right place. Like the simplest tasks are taking way longer. It's not an ADD thing, and I'm not a therapist or doctor, so don't take that as an insult if someone has those issues or symptoms, I should say. It's more about you literally can't focus on getting something right, and it's the simplest thing. The other thing too is your energy is out. I mean, you can work out all you want. You can do the best, you can eat clean, but what's crazy about burnout is that it starts with the area that controls your thought process, which inherently affects everything you do. So those are some symptoms. And I think the last thing I would say is, there's that whole saying of, you want to hang out with the most positive people or the people that can uplift you, your tribe or whatever you want to call it. Like you are choosing to want to associate with people who aren't necessarily good for you. And it's not that they're bad people, but they're not good in the sense that they're not really enabling you to be the best version of yourself. Why? Because you want something subconsciously easy to be around, because you don't want to deal with the burnout. You're frankly in denial. Like I was in denial for like my God, like 3-6 months. And I'm blessed that I didn't have to go to a hospital or anything, but some of the founders that I've been able to work with, they literally came from like, some type of rehab situation or some type of situation where their mind got to the certain point that they constantly would find these short-term fixes to alleviate it. And I'm talking about the usual suspects: sugar, over socially drinking. I didn't say don't drink. I'm just saying beyond the social drinking pattern where you make every night a happy hour, and then taking beyond whatever you are prescribed to do from a medicine standpoint. And the last thing I'd say is you are in denial where you think, oh, well, if I just work out or if I just do this, it will go away. You're putting a Band-Aid, but you're not fixing the wound, if that makes sense. Like, you're not stitching it up, which is what happens if you let the burnout continue. Did I answer your question, TJ? Okay, cool. I love the thumbs up. Any other questions? I love this conversation. So if anyone else talk about burnout, I'm happy to share more. Okay, so I've shared a lot of knowledge on mindfulness. Some things you might know, some things you might not know. We shared some symptoms of burnout, which is reason why you need to do mindfulness. I want to just share a couple quick ways that you can be more mindful while you're working. Number one, and I don't know if, and this is something that, again, the optimist realist of me is seeing now, is we're now really focused on our, what I call mobility. So if I wasn't doing this conversation right now, I would be using a stand-up desk. I just wanted to sit down because I wanted to, be able to, concentrate on this, and standing up, it'd just be hard from a visual standpoint for me to do this with my equipment. But the thing that is really important for, again, helping you get centered is having good mobility. Now, there's obviously bigger things than just standing up, like yoga, stretching, but I'm morely focused this conversation on what you can do while you're at work. This isn't a conversation on what you can do on your non-work time, because that's a whole different conversation. But if you are in a situation where you are at an office or you're at home right now, and you have to do a lot of typing or you have to do a lot of calls, there is gazillion medical research points. I mean, even top 1%ers of mindfulness from Tim Cook have now basically advocated that it's better to do stand up while working. Now, I'm not saying you do 8 hours a day stand up. Obviously you need some breaks, but it's really important to get your mobility in check. And that's a simple hack that you can do anytime. Another thing is your morning ritual is really important. So I'm going to tell you some kind of more what some would call extreme rules that I have. But again, if you want to be a 1%er, these are things that they all do. Number one is you don't have your phone on by your bed. It's that simple. Because here's the thing, whether you are a follower of technology trends or whether you are understanding basic cell phone like technologies, or you understand like laws of, cell phone waves and physics, there is a certain level of energy, of electricity that is emitted in your phone. Obviously, the phone is the greatest thing. I mean, you can now be an entrepreneur anywhere in the world with your phone and laptop, which is such a cool thing. But the key to being more centered and being more productive in your day is your prep work. It's similar to, if any of you are in a fitness, I'm going to use TJ because I know him fairly well on this. I know TJ is a avid runner, and I've met TJ when he's been in his like fitness zone. And I'm going to bet you that a lot of that came when TJ was doing his meal preps, his meals before the workouts. The same thing I would say about your mindfulness is that if you want to really subconsciously be more mindful and be more productive, it's about your sleep. And starting with that, having your phone off while you sleep or having your phone off in the other room can help you have better sleep. Because the better your sleep, the better energy naturally you're going to have, and the less symptoms you will likely get with burnout. Because when you get burned out or you get symptoms of burnout, what you call sleep recklessly. You do things which are haphazard. You wake up all freaked out with anxiety. True story, both for myself and people that I've been able to profile. And so that is the first step, is besides mobility, it's not having your phone on while you sleep. Your first hour of when you sleep or when you get up is also super essential. So I'm not going to advocate a certain food plan, but I think it's very important if you understand the H word, and that is hydration. Whether you are a fasted, whether you're paleo, keto, whether you don't even have a food plan, the first thing you should do within the first hour of getting up is you got to get hydrated. That's really simple. Drinking water, drinking something that is not super acidic. I'm not telling you don't drink coffee. I have my caffeine fixes too. I'm not saying that, but it's super important though that first hour you get hydrated, because you have to understand, when you start to be more mindful, you start to really understand that your whole body is like a machine that needs to have all its cylinders working. So in order for your mind to focus, or your body to focus on being centered, it needs to not have any distractions. So if you wake up and, and during the day and you're like, your body is distracted, you're dehydrated, you didn't sleep well, so your head's not in the right space, you're kind of, not present, then how are you going to get this centered state, if that makes sense? Your body's going to be worried about all these other things. And so that's why hydration is one of the fastest ways to get into that more centered state. So we talked about, just to recap a few things. And what's great is that none of these things require any special apps or any trainings or any, it's all pretty much common sense. But sometimes we as fellow entrepreneurs and friends need to remind ourselves, it's, find ways to optimize your sleep. And I'm being a little extreme by saying don't have your phone on, or have it in the other room if you're the alarm person, or extreme weather, have it on airplane mode with nothing on but your alarm. If you have to have that alarm with your phone, that's fine. Number 2 is hydrate. And of course, during the day, mobility, stand-up desk. So that's like kind of what I call the ritual, the prep work to get that mindful day started. Now, when you're mindful, there's certain habits that you can do. I'm a big advocate of air, walking. Walking is one of the best ways to just get your body alkalized, because your whole goal with all these things is to get your body that solid machine state, which is why walking is a fast way to do that. We are all blessed. I'm assuming everyone here lives in California. So if you are for a second, we are all blessed to have pretty darn good weather. And we are even more blessed that if you live in the greater Orange County area, that, minus one day a week, or even in our winters, we could pretty much go for a walk like most days during the week. So I advocate for you that take several walks a day. When I mean several walks, I'm just talking about 10, 20 minute, or if you have the time, obviously take 30 to 60. And if you have a higher fitness level and you can handle it, then obviously taking a run, but doing some type of activity with air. Even with this social distancing situation we're in, no one is saying that you can't go for walks. They're just saying you have to have the 6 feet thing. So so there should be no excuse for you to get some air. And then outside of that, there's some more specifics which I want to get into. But before I do that, I just want to know if anyone has any questions, because I'm going to talk to you about some actual things you can do while you're at work, which require you a little more concentration.
I have a quick question. So what are your thoughts on the drinking lemon water versus regular water in the morning? Is that something that you do? Because I hear about it a lot.
Yeah, I actually do. That's a great question, Michelle. So I'm going to tell you why it works. Your goal every day is to have your body be alkalized. And in order to have your body be alkalized, there's 3 things that matter. One is you have to have a good circadian rhythm, which comes from sleep. You have to have what you call a dehydrated state, which is why I advocate water. But what the lemon does is that it like clears up all of the acidic kind of parts of your body. Because you got to understand, when you're sleeping, your body is like not doing anything. And so you're susceptible to getting, toxins or other acidic type of feelings. That's why it's so important to, find ways to alkalize it ASAP. And so the lemon water is there. In fact, anyone who feels that they have a that they have I won't say a addiction, but they have an extra need for caffeine every morning. A good like fix so you don't get as needed, you don't need as much caffeine, is to do the hot water and lemon. In fact, there's some gym programs that I've both experienced have seen where like if you're trying to get off the too much coffee in the morning, because that really can make your body acidic, then hot water lemon is a good fix. Any other questions? Okay, so I'm gonna end the ways you could be mindful with some simple things you can do, and then at the end I'm gonna do a little exercise with everyone, and then we'll open it up to some questions and all that and whatnot. So the reason why mindfulness is now the norm for high productive people, regardless if you're an entrepreneur or a service provider or any working professional, whatever you deemed are, is because it helps you plan ahead before the craziness comes. And one of the best exercises that I have seen and learned is something that I call visualization. So visualization has been used, whether you are a Steve Jobs type of person who is visualizing the future of a company, to a Olympian who is visualizing, how to get the win, to a more real life situation. You are about to close the biggest deal of your life, or you have a series of meetings and you visualize the expectations, the outcomes. So here's the do's and don'ts of visualization, okay? The do's is there's no wrong way to think. There's no wrong way. If you visualize having the greatest day, then by all means you do that. But if you visualize something, and this is where the don'ts come in, if you visualize something and you see that, and you focus on having that every moment happen, then you're defeating the purpose of visualization. Visualization is meant to be a guide on what you would like to see. But you have to embrace the fact that there will be things that will affect that happening. So if you are visualizing, so I'll just use Carrie as an example. So if you're visualizing that I'm going to pitch to Carrie today for $500,000 and it's going to be on these terms, and you visualize every part, you literally visualize the formalities, you visualize every slide, you visualize the follow-up questions, because we all know Carrie has his contrarian mindset where he loves to ask those questions that you don't realize, but they're helpful. You visualize all that. But let's say during the actual meeting, it doesn't go that way. And because maybe Carrie has a person in the meeting that you didn't know about. Or maybe you didn't realize that Carrie might have been a little tired that day because he spent till one knows how late working with some entrepreneurs the night before. And he's just super not 100% as energetic as you might have assumed he should be. Or, other things might have gone the way. Like it had to be a Skype meeting or a Zoom meeting, because last minute, we can be at the office. It's okay though, because you use the visualization to say to yourself, this is where I want to go. But if things don't go that way, then, Carrie, you're funny, man. I'm complimenting you, man. It's about finding, it's about embracing the uncertainty. And by just mentally preparing yourself for the uncertainty by visualizing, that will help you have a better chance with a meeting. This is literally a time-tested technique. I'm not kidding you. You literally do type in on Google and literally type in visualization, sales, visualization, meetings, visualization, pitching. I myself, I do visualization for every kind of meeting. I even did a visualization for this meeting. It is such a simple thing, and you get into a habit of using it, and there's no time frame. Visualization could be anywhere from like 10 seconds to a minute if you have time. But that's why whenever you see I love sports analogies. That's why whenever you see the top athletes before they play, you tend to see them in a calm state because they're tending to be they tend to visualize all the things. Like if you study from Jordan to the late Kobe Bryant, they literally would say I have visualized doing these exact same shots, both physically in practice and then in my head. So that's why my shooting percentage is higher. It's something that you really have to embrace. And here's what's great. There's no scientific technique for you to do this. It's just visualize a specific situation, visualize the good and the bad, but know that there could be changes, but you should embrace the unknowing because you already put the time to embrace that. Does anyone have any question about visualization? Because like, I think for this type of group, us go-getters, like this is probably like the most important mindful hack that you can do habitually. I want to make sure everyone gets this before I go further. Okay, so let's talk about what I call breathing. So there is a very well-known fact that if you study the body and if you study alkalinity, all these things, that the number one nutrient that you give your body is oxygen. It is a number one nutrient. And so if you know that oxygen is so important, then finding ways to breathe helps you deal with the calm situations. So TJ asked a very interesting question in the beginning. Like, I didn't realize this, but what is a symptom that makes you realize that you're fatigued or getting to burnout? It's your breathing. Like if you're sporadically, like, talking like this, then yeah, you need to work on that, because if you don't work on your breathing, then your breathing will affect the other mindful things. There's a very, if you study like what are some of the more prevalent medical issues that's happening now with a lot of high growth professionals, it's something called sleep apnea. Sleep apnea basically means that your breathing is getting affected during your sleep. Like you're kind of like, you're one of these people like you don't even realize it. You're literally doing that when you sleep. This is getting very, 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 very unfortunately bad, because when you are in a situation where you're not properly taking care of yourself, all the stress, if you're not finding ways to address it, will creep up on you and will just come all in when you sleep. Because that example I just gave is like all the stress creeping up on you, all the fatigue just has to come out of your body. And it can literally, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but it can literally affect your mental state. Like you literally could be in the ER. That's how serious sleep apnea is. And here's the good news. If you do some basic breathing work every day, and I'm literally talking about 5 minutes to 15 minutes a day, you have a higher chance of preventing sleep apnea. Now, obviously, everyone in this conversation should consult a doctor if they feel they have some symptoms, or if they have the time to do a test. I advise you all to do it. I'm that serious about it. I think this is going to be something that you're going to see a lot more of in the years to come, unfortunately. And one of the preventative things is breathing. So let me share you what I mean by breathing. So when I say breathing, it is literally through your nostrils, out through your mouth for a repetition, and then you hold it for a little while. So a common one is a very simple one. It's 30 breaths in and out, and then you try to hold your breath for up to 2 minutes. Now, I'm not here to tell you that if you go to 2 minutes or higher, then you're fit or not, or even if you go to below 2 minutes, you're not. But it's a good barometer on how your respiratory system is. Now, some of you already do breathing from exercise, from walking, especially swimmers. Swimmers tend to have really good respiratory, but this specific breathing thing that I'm talking about is more for your brain functionality with your body. The other thing I'm talking about is the things that I just said about walking and exercising, breath work. That's more for just your overall health, which is physical health, which obviously you need to have. It's important for your, health is wealth, but that's the difference between this. That's why I'm still advocating, even if you are doing this breathing work, you have to do this, even if you are doing the exercising thing. So a simple one is just simple like this, like, just do that 30 times, literally 30 times. And it's not about how fast you do it. It's not even about, how many you can get done. It's just about doing it for a set amount. And then holding your breath is literally this simple, like this. That's it. I mean, it's literally like that. But it's also a good barometer of how your lung health is. Like if you have to, when you're doing that, like let's say you're doing this, and when you get out of it, you have to go like, then that's a good test to see how your respiratory and your brain work. And that is a good rationale for you to even say, okay, I need to go see a doctor about sleep apnea. I call sleep apnea the diabetes of mental health, where diabetes is a very unfortunate thing that's happened to a lot of people, where it creeps up on you for some, and it's something that if you do know early on that there's symptoms, unless it's a genetic or hereditary thing, you have chances of easing it. I'm that serious about sleep apnea. If you don't do these basic things on your respiratory brain with this simple breath exercise, or do the things like the proper sleep and all these things, then, not to be a downer, because again, I'm a realist optimist, or optimist realist, like I said, you have a higher chance. And so that simple 30 breath in, holding your breath, doing that test is super important. And then I think the last thing I'm going to talk about before I have us do an exercise is where it's spending downtime. So again, being optimist about this realistic situation, I think it's forcing a lot of us to spend more time downtime. And as an entrepreneur or anyone working in a high growth position, I don't think there's anything wrong with spending time on your 1-year plan, or your 2-year plan, or your month-year plan, or if you are in a cash flow crunch, spending time outside of the physical day-to-day and interacting with people, whether it's in person or over phone or Zoom, to like map out where you see yourself. And so I call that simple exercise like meditation. Now, meditation has a lot of connotations, okay? Meditation can be how long can I quiet my mind, to visualization as a form of meditation, because you're guiding yourself to see a situation that's generally positive for your head, and it gives your head a break from, or your body a break from being out in the field, to what I would call that flow state that you get. They call it runner's high, or from swimming, that high feeling you get. You also get this high elated feeling after you do that breath work. I'm telling you right now, it's amazing. When you get in the habit of doing that breath work, it's super elated feeling you get. And that's a meditative state also. All these things are all for one goal, whether it's breath work, visualization, meditation, the proper sleep, the mobility, hydration, even the lemon water. It's to help you get into the habit of connecting with your center state. And that is mindfulness. So all these things are meant to be mindfulness. And just to end it, if you don't do these things, then you hurt your chances of getting in the mindful state. And it actually unfortunately, can affect your overall health, such as sleep apnea, burnout, and all these things. And so as an entrepreneur right now, especially someone who's probably seeking opportunities, or someone with a profession where they have to be more limber and flexible with how things are done, you should spend more time doing these mindful activities. And guess what? Nothing I said to you involves any physical kind of advantages. You can have bad knees, you can have a bad jump shot, you might not be able to run. That's fine. Nothing I said in this is anything you can't do, unless it's some medical, situation that I'm unaware of, or, it's truly impeding you. But almost everything I said here are all things you holistically can do anytime, anywhere, for free, on your own, without needing anyone else's validation. That's what's great about mindfulness. And that's why, again, the top 1%ers of all professionals, all athletes, pretty much top 1%ers of all kinds of people, are doing some form of these mindfulness types of habits. I'm going to end this with a kind of a simple exercise that uses a combination of these things, the visualization, breath, and meditation. But before I do that, because it might get you a little flowy, and you might want to just get off and just, do your thing. Can I answer any questions for you? Last minute questions on mindfulness or anything? And I'll try to have it after the exercise, of course. It'll only take a few minutes, but anything I can answer for anyone, anything, any comments, any questions?
Well, I always have something to say.
Good.
So I would say one of my biggest vices when it comes to just being mindful and relaxing is that I love to watch TV, and TV is like the number one way to get me to zone out, turn off my mind, and not have to worry about the day-to-day that I have going on that is causing me anxiety. And now more than ever, now that we're at home all day, I find that it's, you know, if I'm not careful, I could be spending all day long watching TV when I'm not working. And I know that it's not healthy, and I know that it's not positive. And sometimes even, you know, I think that the less that I have to think about what I'm watching, the more relaxing it becomes. So then I'll watch something that's really not even of any sort of educational value. And then is that even worse? So, I mean, how do you see that being a really common theme? And what are your kind of tips for trying to find a replacement to that? And because I think that, you know, there's something to be said about being able to step out of your own reality, and how can you create that in a more healthy environment?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So it's kind of like the social drinking comment, where obviously there are things that we all have to do. For me, I have a sweet tooth. I don't really drink at all, rarely, but I love eating sweets. But like drinking or like anything else, I'm a big fan of moderation. And regarding TV, I would say the same thing. I don't think there's anything wrong zoning out and watching a show that is like not going to take up brain power, as you're saying, right? That's fine. I personally think that's fine. You're kind of giving your head a break because you need to do those breaks. I will say though that similar to the telephone situation, I don't recommend you watch TV at the end or the beginning of when you wake up. And and it goes back to that electricity thing. Carrie, I'm going to read your comment in a sec. It goes back to the electricity thing. It's really about understanding that like a cell phone, a TV is a big emitter of some type of electric current. Okay, those currents go through your body in and out, right? They go through your body, and the biggest prep goal for yourself, the best thing you can do for yourself is to have the best quality of sleep that you can have. Like, you can do all these things that we talked about, but if your sleep is like bad and you're not doing these preventive things, then like it's kind of like working out all the time and just going eating in and out right after. Like, you're not going to get results unless you have some super crazy metabolism, but it's not going to last forever. Like, it's that serious. So what I'm trying to say to you is that limit the TV to the last hour and the first hour of when you wake up, even 2 hours if you can do that. Limit to no TV. And obviously I'm not talking about Friday nights, Saturday nights and stuff like that. I mean, you got to do what you got to do socially on those nights if you follow like that social kind of schedule. But it's not only better for your head space, but it will mentally and preventatively from things like the sleep apnea and all that. It's so much better. So in sum, you have to put a bigger impact or bigger reason to not watch TV an hour or more before you sleep and when you get up. And if you study sleep apnea and what low quality and why low quality sleep is the biggest cause of it, and if you know that electronic devices and electronics can affect that sleep, hopefully that should be a good enough reason for you. Yeah.
Oh, Ash, can you hear me?
Yeah. Hey, Brent, what's up? Long time.
Hey, good. Yeah, good to see you, man. You're looking good. Thanks for doing this. Sorry, my audio kept cutting out, but my question is sort of maybe the analogy like working out and going to the gym and getting a trainer. Do you recommend a mindfulness coach, and did you make use of, you kind of mentioned the sleeping, but some external, helpers, resources to do that? Because basically for myself, I don't know if I would keep, on the program or remember to do all these things or be that diligent with all the things you presented today. So just curious about your comments there.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree that if you need a coach of some sort for this, which is totally fine, then I would say yes. And I'll tell you the simple reason why. You brought up the gym thing, okay? Like, it's very easy for you to just go to a gym. But if you really want to get good results, you get a trainer. You could be a high growth founder and you might have raised some money, but you might not know what to do for the next kind of, next level. So getting a coach, whether it's from OC4 or working directly with Carrie, it's good. It's a growth thing for you. And vulnerability is something that you will find emerges more when you do more mindfulness work. Because when you're more connected with your center state, you start to not care about what other people think, and you start to focus more on what is this going to make my own health and my own body work better. And then you start to like be honest with yourself, and you start to say, okay, I need help in this and that. So what you just said is a great example on being honest with yourself. And again, kind of like that sleep example with the TV, the TV thing. If you don't make a habit of doing these mindful habits, it will creep up on you later. And I'm not wishing ill on you. I'm not 100% guaranteeing this. Nothing is certain, but these are preventative things that can help the state, which is your mental state, be better, and also help you be more aware of, situations like that. So that can, before they creep up. So yeah, I would advocate it. And again, I don't like to do these talks and, be promotional, but I am offering a free meditation to anyone here. And it kind of goes over all these things that I just mentioned. So it should help you. It's a 10-minute thing that if you do this every morning, it should help you deal with a lot of these mindfulness things. But yeah, that's a great question. I see a bunch of comments here. So let me just see this. Yeah, agree with you, Carrie. Everything in moderation. My grandfather and father always said everything in moderation, not a bad principle. TJ, I totally agree with you. I know you and I have had a lot of talks on sleep. And so, yeah, no, I know that. I appreciate you saying that. Any other questions before?
Ash.
Yeah.
So I'm not a napper, but I worked really late 2 nights ago and was really tired. Should we be napping, especially now that we're home and we can actually hit the snooze right now? Like, should we be taking afternoon naps? Is that a good idea?
Dude, I'm so distracted by your background. That's so cool.
It's like I'm back in the studio.
Dude, that is love for OC4, man.
I'm so jealous.
Dude, that is
Take me back. Take me back. Where are my people?
The closest I can do to having an office.
Yeah, to answer your question, 100% taking naps is essential. I will send to you that I'll include in the meditation thing an interview I did with Dr. Oz where we actually talked about napping. And to sum it up, he is a busy guy. He does 2 syndicated shows. He still does medical consulting, and he's a busy person. And he's in I think he's like 60, but the guy has more energy than like people half his age. You'll see it when you see this interview. It's only like 7-minute interview. And one of his keys is that he takes 1 to 2 naps a day. And when I said to you that there's that alone time, the time when you don't really do any work and you think strategically, I would argue that naps is a good solution for that. So yeah, absolutely. And especially if you're at home and you can afford to do it time-wise, then please take naps. I'm not going to tell you how much length-wise. It's subjective to each person, but yes, taking a nap is a good recharge.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So how have you been thinking about this time period that we're in right now as both a disruption to what our lives sort of have been, but also maybe the opportunity for reflecting or developing new habits?
So I'm going to answer the latter first, because this will try to answer the former. If you look at like the really crazy situations before this, 2008, Wall Street financial crisis, Great Depression, some of the best entrepreneurs prevailed during that. Tesla came around, the genesis of Tesla was around, 2008, the Great Depression, Ford came out. So I would argue that as an entrepreneur or anyone who has a job where they have potential for really growth, I would use this opportunity as a time to have an edge. Let's be competitive for a sec. I don't think there's anything wrong being competitive, wanting to dominate, wanting to win, wanting to be the best version of yourself. Okay. There's nothing wrong in my opinion. I personally am working more smart than when I did before this. Why? I don't have to drive to my office every day. I mean, I only go to Eureka or let's say OC4 for something, but still that's like 40 minutes total, just 10, 20 minutes each way with traffic, just that energy of driving, dealing with potential braking and all that stuff. It takes a toll on your body when you drive every day. Number 2, I am now holding myself more accountable. See, I could tell you, oh, you know, I'm the most mindful guy, or oh, I'm the most high growth biz dev person. But when stuff hits the fan, this is the time to test yourself. And anyone who has that competitive drive or that bigger why or bigger purpose, which I know you definitely have, Carrie, then you know subconsciously I would feel that this is the time to test that strength and really unleash it. And then lastly, I think that the productivity tools that are out there, I'll be honest with you, I have way more energy doing this conversation, doing a Zoom, than having a group of us together. Not that I don't love doing in person. I love in person, but I find it as a time to, I have more energy. Like I could do 2 or 3 of these in a day now versus doing one where it takes all my energy because, you know, when you're with people, all that. And then to answer your other question, regarding the uncertainty and all that, I think it goes back to, I think we're going to come out of this. I'm not going to say less materialistic, but I think we're being more compelled to spend time on the things that matter, such as family, such as calling people who don't call. Even if you're watching shows, let's just say, like, you might more consciously want to watch shows that can grow you. I think so. I kind of see blessings in that. Now, obviously, there are some situations where people are affected financially or the business is hurting. And obviously, I feel for anyone like that. But I'll tell you right now that there are also a lot of opportunities too. It's how you see it. And that's why I love about mindfulness is that, especially visualizing and seeing your potential and doing the work on yourself and doing things like high quality sleep and all that, because you will find a light. That is the true test if like you really are able to endure and you're not just thinking to yourself, oh, I don't have funding or this and that. You'll find a way. When there's a will, there's a way. And so this is this can constructively toughen you up and also make you more dominate if you have a business, because you know that there's situations where others aren't like that. So this is a time for you to prevail. And so that's what I would say. I don't know. I'm kind of more about the take advantage of the opportunity in front of you with this more so than the other side. And but obviously we're a community, and if you don't feel that, obviously that's why you have groups like this and you have your peers and friends if you need to talk about that.
Great stuff. I think the bigger one is just this question of are people taking, you know, how do we as a community bring more people in, allow them to take stock and reevaluate and use this time to their advantage? Because to your point, even if you have a day job right now, you probably have more available time, or a lot of people through this next several months are probably going to lose their day job and have a need for help. So I think there's a big opportunity for those of us that hold your point of view to be a source of hope and optimism and encouragement and growth and all these good things that aren't going to happen overnight. But I think there's a huge reawakening opportunity that will come from this. And that's where I get really excited.
Yeah. From a personal brand standpoint, I'm a big advocate of live stream talks, and I have just done some data on my LinkedIn lives and my IG lives. Those are the two that I do. Peak Mindful I do with my IG lives, and my own personal brand I use with LinkedIn Live. And I have noticed a surge in people. I have noticed a surge in questions. I have noticed a surge in all these other people wanting to help. And so it's more, I feel that there's more support at no to low cost out there more than ever now. Because I think people, in a weird way, and this is not political, but I think this is waking us up to be more of a community in some interesting state. That's all I'm going to say. And so I do feel that people like you, Carrie, and myself and others need to be out there more and need to just offer to help and be more just saying, hey, don't worry, we're all going through it. Because this is the first time. It's crazy. This is the first time where, like, doesn't matter about your wealth, doesn't matter about your race, doesn't matter about, your age. that you're kind of isolated. So if you know that variable, then you should know that we're all in this together. We really are. So it's so reach out to people. I think that's the other thing that I'm seeing more of, and more stuff like this. Like, you guys should be doing these every day. I'm not trying to give you guys more work, but literally you should be. No, but seriously, you should have, like, this is so.
Yeah, we're doing double the number of events we were before.
Yeah. See. And so
got one tomorrow. Got one on Friday. Yeah.
Nice. Oh my God, TJ. But by the way, everyone, before I do this, TJ had a funniest question. Does Tiger King count as a show that will help me grow?
Dumber.
You know what? I'm gonna say a funny comment about Tiger King. Let's just say I now know why. One of the reasons why we need to help parts of our society is because if people are knowingly spending their life savings, $900 to $2,000 to go hang out with live animals for a day, and they don't have like the affluent means to do it, then man, we have to fix our financial spending. That's all I'm going to say. And I know Max, you and Carrie, you guys are big into fintech, but something to think about. So anyways, all right.
I just found out that Dr. Bhagavan is literally from like 15 minutes away from me back in Northern California. It's a little concerning now.
Wow, that is trippy. All right. I know before we end, I'm going to give you guys a quick couple-minute exercise to do, and then from there, I'll stay around for you to talk. But just everyone, the key is just sit really well, get your posture up. Going back to the mobility thing, your posture is everything. Just like an exercise, just make sure your back is just firm. Or if you need a support, a pillow, that's totally fine too. It's not a physical exercise, so it's not about needing no support. So just close your eyes. Just get calm. Just feel your body. Do a couple breaths. Repeat after me. I'm going to just do it 3 times, and then just follow me after that 3 more times. Now do it 3 more times with me. Keep your mind closed. Now I want you to focus on one positive thing you can do for yourself today. This can be hanging out with your family, eating a favorite meal, sending off a proposal, having a call with a mentor. Think of one thing, just one thing, because multitasking in many ways can affect you from achieving the one thing that matters. And that's all I'm having you think about, is that one thing. So think on it for a little bit. Now with that one thing, think about the aftermath. If you met your family, did you make an impact on them? You ate your favorite food? Do you feel like, hey, I got something fulfilling inside? If you got a proposal done, you moved 1 more inch towards your business goals of helping society and prospering. So think of that aftermath. Now, when I count to 3, I want you to open your eyes, and I want you to think of that goal, that one thing. And anytime you're feeling distracted, or you feel like there is, uncertainty, or you have too much going on in your head, do the same exercise where you close your mind, you breathe a few times, and you think of that one thing and its aftermath. Remind yourself that one thing right now is all that matters. That is presence. That is mindfulness. So the count of 3, just open your eyes. 1, 2, 3. Would anyone like to share that one thing that came to their head?
I'm going to send out resumes to companies who aren't even hiring just to ask for feedback on how the students' projects are doing. And maybe they'll hire them. Who knows?
There you go. That's one thing. Hey, very nice, dude. All right, everyone. Well, thank you again for letting me do this. Love everything that OC4 is doing. Love this community. Really appreciate it. Sincerely mean that. If I will send to Michelle and Ariel a free audio and the link to the interview. Outside of this, I co-founded a mindfulness app called Peak Mindful. It's free. So we give you several pieces of audio and video kind of content every day. It's version 1, so we're still fixing some things, but every day you're getting new content every day. So that's the thing I can say. So obviously, you're going to see a revamped interface in the next few weeks. We're actually doing that as we speak. But right now, I encourage you to use it because it takes you less than 10 minutes a day and it's free. We don't even ask you your credit card or anything. We just launched it a few months ago, and we just want to give back and help people understand how they can be mindful at work. So check it out at Peak Mindful, both the Android and Apple Store. And also, before I go, if anyone needs any guidance on this stuff, mindfulness hacks or leadership kind of integration or anything like that, feel free to reach out to me. I'm pretty accessible. And yeah, I appreciate you all for joining me, and have a great day.
Thanks, Ash.
Thanks,
That was
Ash.
great.
Thanks, Ash.